And I'm really thrilled about our next guest. As a fan that grew up on baseball in the 1980s, our next guest is an iconic player from the 70s and 80s, was an institution in Southern California for decades. He's a 10-time All-Star. He's a former National League MVP, one of the greats in Dodgers and Padres history. Steve Garvey joins us in studio. Steve, good morning.
Beautiful introduction.
I've been working on that for a while.
Which means that I'm an old ball player now. Iconic. All you had to do is mix legend in there, and it would have been the trilogy. It's great to be with you.
When does it feel uncomfortable to be called a legend? At what point in time?
It's the marking of time as you go on in life, and you look back and you look at the blessing of being able to play professional and Major League Baseball. And to have had a long career and play on wonderful teams and win world championships and play in the great Yankee-Dodger World Series, which I think is the ultimate. And then to be able to take that and be an ambassador for the game. And I have a media consulting company, and we have great clients like Kings of Y. I'm going to talk about that today. But to go throughout this country and have people come up and say, I remember that day at Yankee Stadium in the All-Star game of '77, or sitting in the bleachers at Dodger Stadium when my grandfather used to take me to the games. Because at the end of the day, we're in the memory business. And I think that's the charm of baseball, the national pastime. And that's why no matter how much you want to tinker with it, it's still a game without a clock. It's still 27 outs and one more run most games. It's still the launch of a great home run or a perfect strikeout to end the game. And that's why it's been an honor to be part of it and to be ambassador for it.
Your baseball resume stands upon itself. All those things that you mentioned, World Series champion, playing in multiple World Series, the Yankees, Dodgers, National League MVP. But you were more than just a baseball player. You were a cultural icon for that time because you were the ultimate pitchman. You were squeaky clean. People felt like you were Mr. America in so many ways. How much pressure is that to live up to that, knowing that that's the pedestal that you're put on?
Well, it's interesting. It's the old feet of clay syndrome, and you see it a lot. And nothing greater amplifies that in New York when you get an athlete that starts to go on the rise. And then, of course, back then we didn't have social media like we had today. But it depends on who you are. It depends on who your family is and their values and their morals. And we were just talking a minute ago. My family essentially is from New York. My grandfather was a Brooklyn policeman, which is ironic to eventually end up with the Dodgers. Mom was from Baldwin. Family had a place in Glen Cove and Hempstead and Wantagh. Remember coming up, but I was born in Florida. It's a longer story. But we would come up every Thanksgiving, and Grandpa would take me to Ebbets Field. And he would, and of course, it was November, and it was Thanksgiving. Sometimes it would snow. And he'd say, Stevie, this is where the bums play. This is where the Dodgers play. And I looked down and I said, Papa, can I be a Dodger someday? And he says, well, I got to practice hard. And guess what? I ended up with 15 years with Los Angeles. But coming to New York, coming back and seeing the family, and then eventually the first time I came into Shea Stadium, and warming up and having a couple of older gentlemen say, kid, come over here. Come on, hey, kid, come over here. And I'd go over and they'd grab my hand. You know, I'd squeeze the end of the fingers like the old guys do. You know, kid, you could have played for the Bums, which was the ultimate compliment for me. But we hate O'Malley. You tell O'Malley we still hate him. And I said, yes, sir. I said, but you're cheering for the Dodgers tonight. And look around. Yeah, kid, we're cheering for the Dodgers. So, you know, that's why the charm was always about the boroughs. It was about the Yankees and the Giants and my Dodgers, of course, and Hodges and Frillo and Snyder. And, and an addendum was my father was a Greyhound bus driver in Tampa, Florida. And spring of 1956, he comes home. It's the end of March, spring training. He says, you want to skip school tomorrow? I said, wow, yeah, what are we going to do? He said, well, I've got the Brooklyn Dodgers, got a charter to pick him up at the Dodger at the Tampa airport, take him to St. Pete to play the Yankees in the exhibition game. And he said, let's have a Father-Son Day. So the next day, we got the bus, drove to the tarmac. The K. O'Malley one landed, the Dodger plane. Off came Frillo and Snyder and Hodges and Robinson. And that day I was a bat boy for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the rest is history. I got pine tar on my hands and rosin on my my Chuck Taylor sneakers. And Jackie Robinson literally sit on my lap on the bench. And I listened to Snyder and Reese talk about the Yankee pitcher and how he's holding the ball. And maybe 7 months later in Game 7, Hodges would be at the plate and see him take his windup a certain way, it was going to be a curveball. So what a baptism. And then 12 years later, to sign with the Dodgers.
Steve Garvey, our guest here in studio. So I take it from that it was kind of easy for you to embrace that role of ambassador for the sport and for the team and for that era because you were so appreciative of where you had come from before then.
Grew up with my idols, and then there was that transition period between Brooklyn and Los Angeles, and then it was Ron Fairley, and of course Drysdale was getting more traction then, and then for 6-7 years, the Dodgers were successful going to World Series. In 1968, they had the great draft of Valentine, Buckner, Pishoric, Say, Lopes, Russell, myself. That was during a Dodger down period, and then within 4 or 5 years, we came up, and we had that 73 to 85 period of time, the golden era that you remember when you were growing up, where we had the infield for 8.5 years, 4 guys playing 8.5 years together, all-time record. People come up and say, can it be broken, the record? I said, can't keep one guy on a team 8 years, much less 4 infielders. It was a time when you could keep a team together. Free agency was coming in, but still the smart guys like Al Campanis, the GMs, that sign guys up knowing that if I can get them for 4 or 5 years after this free agency is starting, I can keep a team together that's going to be consistent and win.
What was the animosity like between you and the Yankees teams? Your team of the Yankees teams with Reggie Jackson and Catfish and Guidry and all those guys, because certainly Reggie was bombastic.
No.
Billy Martin was crazy and a lunatic. And you guys seem to be so much more
fake
even.
News. Those guys were choir boys.
And comparatively, you had a different demeanor. Did that lead to a lot of friction or animosity of, hey, we do it the right way around here?
It's interesting. Watch good teams and great organizations. They don't have animosities. They understand the game. They understand how difficult it is. They understand how tough it is to go out and be consistent day in, day out, and reach the pinnacle, either as a consistent team or a player.
And can relate to an opponent.
And can relate to it. That's why really the greatest rivalry in the 70s, early 80s was the Reds and the Dodgers. Look at all the All-Stars on the team, eventual Hall of Famers. But those World Series, 77, 78, 81, were teams that respected each other, played hard, looked for the edge. 77, when Reggie hit the 3 home runs, and the last one he rounded first, and he looked at me, and I clapped in my glove, and he winked, and I winked, and I knew it was
a moment, greatness,
and a moment, and a series of greatness, and they won. Now fast forward to 1981. Oh, by the way, after the game, Dick Young, the venerable news writer, comes in and he says to me, looks around, he said, "Were you clapping in your glove?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I've never seen that before." "Why?" I said, "Recognizing greatness. You have to do that in any profession before you can truly understand, what it takes." So fast forward, Game 6, 1981, 2 outs, 9th inning. We've got a comfortable lead. Reggie's on first. And he said, "Garv, congratulations. It's your turn now." He patted me on the behind. They don't do that anymore. It's a new millennium now. That was the sign of
and it came from Reggie.
Recognition. I looked up, and it was 11:59 on the board at the old Yankee Stadium. And the next pitch, fly ball goes to center field. Kenny Landreau catches it. And now it's the culmination of hitting little grapefruits in the back of your yard with a broomstick when you're 7 and 8, or bat boying for the Brooklyn Dodgers when they're playing the Yankees in exhibition, or playing in Little League, or this and that. Now you've won the pinnacle of a team sport, and you rush to the mound. There was a great picture in Sports Illustrated of Steve Yeager picking up Steve Howe, and I'm the highest I've ever leaped before. But what people don't know is we come down, Yeager spins Howe clocks me with his elbow. I'm seeing stars. My hat flies off. If I didn't have this Irish jaw, I would have been out cold on the Yankee Stadium mound at the pinnacle of my career. But of course it's New York, and people are rushing. I'm thinking, I got to get my hat.
Yeah,
they're going after this. If I was out cold, think about this. It's like a strip car on the Long Island Expressway.
Taking your hubcaps, taking your fender.
They would have taken my sanitaries. They would have taken my socks, my belt. I would have been almost naked on the real thing. So. But and fast forward to today.
Yeah.
The evolution of that career to a career in the media business today, and now I'm going to be at Yankee Stadium as much as I'll be at Dodger Stadium this year.
Working with Kings Hawaiian And at Yankee Stadium, like so many other ballparks, the food is epic. I mean, when you were playing, the food is pretty standard. Dodger dog, beer, soda, that's about it. Now there's so many cool things to eat at ballparks, and I'm a total foodie, so I go out there and I'd love to try all these new things all the time. We've got Chef Matt Gibson from Yankee Stadium, senior executive chef over there in the Bronx, joining us in studio. And I hear he's got some great creations, and the King's Hawaiian, I like the creativity here because, you know, there's sliders and there's buns, but Chef Matt, when you add a little sweetness with the King's Hawaiian, elevate it to the next level, buddy.
He's the Thomas Keller, by the way, of Yankee Stadium.
Very nice.
Right here.
Very
That's
nice.
my highest compliment. I've seen him at work. I've tasted the food. This man's the best.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so how about using the King's Hawaiian for a slider? It's a big play.
Well, yeah. Ultimately, it's a great product to surround ourselves with, and it screams quality, and it's easy for us chefs to do very minimal to it and produce an awesome product. And we were fortunate enough to have this partnership join with the Yankees and King's Hawaiian this year, and we hit the ground running, and ultimately we want to keep going with that. As you can see, we've brought some samples for everyone to enjoy.
This is an aircraft carrier of sandwiches over here.
Fully loaded.
And in front of me, I got the sauces: King's Hawaiian Big Island Lava, which is a spicy island sauce; barbecue sauce smoked bacon, which has rich smoky flavor notes; and barbecue sauce original, which is sweet pineapple. Classic flavors, subtle tropical bite. What's the play here, Chef Matt?
So ultimately, the buns are great, and these sauces are phenomenal. So as you can see, we have our fun spin on some nachos. So instead of using tortilla chips, we use wonton chips. The great pork, we slathered it in the barbecue sauce. It's great. It's got a little spice to it. Just a real fun play on some nachos, and then kind of an island approach to a pulled pork sandwich. And it's been doing great for us at the stadium, and we're looking for some nice weather and bigger crowds, and get Steve out there and slinging some pork sandwiches in the near future.
We're capturing summer at Yankee Stadium. We did it last year.
I love it.
We came up with King's Hawaiian Grill at Dodger Stadium last year.
Yeah.
Little different situation, freestanding building, but we're between home and first with King's Hawaiian Grill at Yankee Stadium. And talk about, within 4 months last year, it became the epicenter of food for Dodger Stadium. That's what's going to happen here between home and first. It's going to be the epicenter of people who want good food, who want to get that feeling of a little bit of a picnic in the stadium.
Absolutely.
Love Hawaii, but love the barbecue sauce feeling to it. And, the way the Yankees are playing, it's going to be a great team.
Just ripped off 9 straight wins.
Yeah.
And the Baby Bombers are taking liftoff now. I got to tell you, Steve, like I said before, in your day, and even when I was growing up, I go out to the ballpark. My family, Brooklyn Dodgers fans from way back when, so we became New York Mets fans. Go out to Shea Stadium, old Shea Stadium. You get a burger, hot dog, fries. And that's about as creative as it gets. And now at ballparks, there's so many cool things. I can spend the entire game walking around the infield of these concourses, trying all this food. So King's Hawaiian and all these other options, it's awesome, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're in the 300 level, too. I think 335. And 115 down. Yeah, so great locations. But what we're also going to do is periodically throughout the summer, I'm going to do what I call Way We Were with a former Yankee legend. And we're going to do an hour one-on-one conversation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the stands, where at Yankee Stadium is King's Hawaiian. And if we see somebody with King's Hawaiian food, we are going to take care of the whole row.
Wow.
So, Garvey and Legends, going to see if we can get Reggie
Very
off
nice.
the DL. He had a terrible injury.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether they have to carry him or not. He's coming with the King's Hawaiian food. But it's a way and King's Hawaiian is a great American company, but what we try to do is we try to not only provide great rolls and food, but interact with the fans and provide a great experience. And that's what the Yankees do, the Dodgers do, baseball, but it's the same way in the culinary business.
It's a very dangerous play bringing in all this delicious-smelling food around radio people, because you will see cockroaches come out of places you've never seen. Sales will come out. Engineers will come out.
Irish cockroaches.
You'll see everybody. Oh, you got free food over there?
Italian.
You got everybody coming out. So, Chef Matt, thanks so much for coming on by. Can't wait to try some of this. This looks amazing.
Please do. If you leave hungry, that's my fault.
And it might be my fault as well, because there's enough delicious food over here. Before we let you go, Steve, we wanted to introduce you, and I think you guys actually met outside, to our esteemed update anchor extraordinaire, Rich Ackerman. Now, Ack grew up idolizing you watching baseball. Would that be right, Ed?
Yes, wore number 6 in Little League just because of you.
Rich, thank you.
So.
And I'm talking to him, and he goes 30 tackles in 67 because I played defensive back at Michigan State.
He knows everything.
My wife doesn't know that. My children don't know that.
He's a stat hound. So he actually mimicked your baseball swing. Was this when you were playing Little League?
When I was growing up, yeah, sure. We always did that. It was Carlton Fisk's game-winning home run in the '75 series. Your stance. Everybody did something. So I was always doing your stance, although I'm left-handed.
So do you have the bat?
I have the bat.
Okay, so if you can swing around behind Steve, because we want to get this on camera, watch this at watchda.com. And the great Rich Ackerman is going to mimic Steve Garvey's swing, and let's see how well. He can't get the full range of motion.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe you can get kind of. Okay, you want to get in the middle here? We'll get Ack in the middle here, so you can watch this at watchda.com.
Now batting number 6.
Number 6.
Ackerman, number 6. Very nice.
Little windmill.
Little windmill.
Yeah. Very good.
Wildly closed stance.
Yes. Knuckles aligned. Very nice.
Little lean over.
Very nice.
And then you have the great leg drive, and you just whip the bat around. Am I right?
Boy, you're leading with the knob. I'm telling you. Watch up, watch down.
Had everything done except I wasn't right-handed.
How old are you now?
Can I say 49?
Too late for a comeback, huh? I'll tell you, we could go in the cages. I can get you at least in the Dominican in the summer.
I never had it, but it's certainly whatever I had certainly left me though.
And then if you're not starting, we have a King's Hawaiian little restaurant
Softball
there in Santa Domingo.
That's what I've been majoring in these days.
It's pretty good.
Let me see your launch angle. You know what? Somebody said to me the other day, what was your launch angle? Did you guys have launch angles? Of course we had launch angles. Nobody talked about a launch angle. The launch angle was you really were uppercutting back then.
Yeah.
And the coaches and the batting instructor, Dixie Walker, say, hey, get your hands up. You're uppercutting too much. Where now it's about launch angles and speed of the ball coming off the bat and all these things. And the big revelation today, and I saw the Wall Street Journal, was there more strikeouts than hits in April in Major League Baseball. I mean, it's almost sacrilegious to think that. I mean, I think I averaged 60-something strikeouts a year and got 200 hits for 6 or 7 years and so forth. But my whole approach was hitting down through the ball, think right center. If it was inside, I'd bring my hands in, and it worked. And Rich was just saying a closed stance. Rarely do you see a closed stance now, except for Giancarlo Stanton, who I love seeing him closed, but everybody else is open. So now they're open. They got to step into it. They got to stop. They got to pivot. They got to turn instead of staying close to begin with and covering the outside of the plate.
And there is no embarrassment in striking out 150 times anymore, unfortunately. And so Giancarlo Stanton swings for the fences. If he has 120, 150 strikeouts, oh well, right? Back in the day, that would never happen for you guys.
I used to work hard for my money. If I struck out 125 times back then and 20 home runs, I'd be on the trading block.
Steve Garvey, 10-time All-Star, National League MVP, World Series champion, joining us on behalf of Kings Hawaiian Rolls, Yankee Stadium. This stuff looks great. I can't wait to try it, and we'll tell you how it is. Steve, this was a real thrill for me. I know it was for the rest of the guys around here, so thanks so much. I know it's been a busy day for you, and it'll continue to be, but thanks for finding time for us.
My pleasure and an honor, and bon appetit.
Bon appetit. That's a good way to sign off.